Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into something that's been making a lot of headlines recently, and that is the Stargate AI project.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating one.
Yeah, so this is a massive project that President Trump just announced, and it has the potential to really, totally reshape the future of AI here in the U.S. And honestly, maybe even globally.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is something that has the potential to be like a total game changer in
Yeah.
the world of AI. But of course, if anything this big, it comes with a whole bunch of, you know, unknowns
Yeah.
and potential challenges.
Right, and that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We've got a whole stack of articles here from all sorts of outlets. We've got stuff from the Economic Times, AT News, Connected to India, CBS News. We even got the Tribune Observer and the Standard. So we're really trying to get a wide view of
Our
it.
broad perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And some of these sources are super enthusiastic about the project. They're painting it as, this bold move to secure U.S. dominance in AI.
Right. Make America great again.
But then others are a lot more cautious. They're raising concerns about the project's feasibility. Yeah, is it even possible? How transparent is this thing really going to be? And then, of course, the potential risks. I mean, AI is powerful stuff.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of folks are rightly wary.
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're really going to try to unpack all of this, what actually is Stargate? Who are the key players? And then we're going to delve into all these different viewpoints. So hopefully by the end of this, you, the listener, will have a better understanding of, what's at stake here, what this could all mean.
Yeah, what this could all mean for the future for all of us.
Exactly. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is Stargate?
So Stargate, in a nutshell, is basically this joint venture that President Trump just announced, and it aims to invest a crazy amount of money, up to $500 billion over just 4 years. And all of that is going to go to AI infrastructure.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of zeros.
$500 billion. So we're talking data centers, power generation facilities, the whole 9 yards.
So shebang. Yeah. I mean, the goal here is to build a foundation.
Yeah.
For a thriving AI ecosystem right here in the U.S. And the scale is, it's just unprecedented. I mean, we've never seen anything like this before. It's massive. Yeah. I mean, Trump is already calling it, a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential.
I mean, it certainly sounds ambitious. There's no doubt about that. And, it's clear that job creation is a big part of the narrative here. I mean, Trump has already been emphasizing that Stargate is going to create over 100,000 jobs almost immediately, right out of the gate. Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a key part of the appeal to a lot of folks. I mean, this project is being positioned as a way to boost the American economy and to, ensure that the U.S. remains, a leader in this field. I mean, AI is only becoming more and more important for economic growth and even national security. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so let's talk about who's actually involved in this thing. We know that OpenAI is a major player. And of course, they're the folks who created ChatGPT. So they're bringing some serious AI expertise to the table.
Oh, yeah. They're the rock stars of AI right now.
Right. And the idea that they're going to be utilizing these super powerful data centers to push the boundaries of AI research and development. So it's kind of they're providing the brains and Stargate is providing the brawn, the muscle.
The computing power to really go big.
Exactly. So what about Oracle? What role are they playing in all of this?
Well, Oracle's kind of the backbone of the physical infrastructure. For Stargate, I mean, they're the ones who are going to be building these massive data centers that are going to house all the computer servers that are needed to run these really advanced AI systems. And they're bringing their decades of expertise in data management and security to the project, which, is definitely a big plus.
Right, because security is a huge concern when it comes to AI and big data.
Oh, absolutely. And then you've got SoftBank. They're the Japanese investment firm.
Right, so they're the money guys.
Yeah, they're a key financier.
Yeah.
And their involvement is really significant because it shows that this project has, gotten international attention and investment. I mean, this isn't just a U.S. thing anymore.
Right, but it's interesting because their involvement also seems to be a bit of a point of contention because Elon Musk has been publicly questioning their commitment to the full $500 billion investment.
Yeah, there's some drama there for sure.
Right. Musk is saying that he has inside information that SoftBank has secured way less funding than what's been announced. And he's even challenged Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, to a public debate about the project's funding. So things are getting a little spicy.
It's getting a little heated, yeah. I mean, this seems to be more than just a disagreement about numbers, though.
Yeah. I mean, is there like some bad blood between Musk and Altman?
Well, there is some history there for sure. I mean, they actually co-founded OpenAI together. But the relationship has kind of gone sour in recent years. Musk left OpenAI back in 2018, and he's been pretty critical of the organization ever since. He's basically saying that they've abandoned their original nonprofit mission.
Interesting. So now he's like launching his own AI company called XAI. So it really is like a rivalry. It sounds like there's a lot of personal baggage mixed up in all of this.
There's definitely some personal stuff going on there, yeah. And, it's important to kind of keep that in mind. Because these personal dynamics could be, influencing the public discourse around Stargate. I mean, how much of this is like, genuine concern about the project and how much of it is just, personal beef? It's hard to say.
Yeah, it definitely adds another layer of complexity to an already very complex situation. So we've got OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank as the major players. But there are other partners involved too, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch more. Microsoft is in on it. And they're already, working closely with OpenAI, providing computing resources for their models. Nvidia is also a partner. And they're the ones making the GPUs. Those specialized chips that are essential for training AI. And then you've got ARM Holdings, which is another chip designer. They're owned by SoftBank now, and they're bringing their expertise in low-power, high-performance computing.
Right, so like making the whole thing more efficient.
Exactly. And we can't forget about MGX. That's the UAE government's tech investment arm. So this really does have a global reach.
So this really is like a team effort.
Oh, yeah. It really is, like a global consortium. And they're all bringing something unique to the table, which I guess is exciting, if it all works out.
Yeah. So we've got a sense of what Stargate is, who's involved, and, we've touched on some of the controversies and the drama. But what about the potential downsides? I mean, there seem to be a lot of people who are concerned about, like, the lack of transparency around the project and the, potential risks that come with advancing AI technology this quickly.
Right. I mean, there are some serious concerns being raised, and those are the things we need to explore next. I mean, this thing is moving fast.
Especially with Trump, like, revoking Biden's AI safety order. I mean, that was supposed to like put some guardrails on AI development.
And now it's gone.
So that definitely raises some questions about the ethical considerations surrounding Stargate and how those are going to be addressed, if they're addressed at all.
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. So we've got a lot more to unpack here, and that's exactly what we're going to do after the break, so stay tuned.
So, picking up where we left off, one of the biggest concerns with this whole Stargate thing is that Trump decided to just revoke Biden's AI safety order.
Yeah. I mean, that executive order was supposed to like establish some ground rules for AI development, right?
Yeah.
It was all about, safety, security, trustworthiness.
Exactly. And it wasn't perfect by any means, but, at least it was an attempt to get some kind of regulations in place.
So now that it's gone, what does that mean for Stargate? What specific risks are people actually worried about?
Well, one of the big ones is, the potential for unintended consequences. I mean, when you're developing something this powerful this quickly, there's always a chance that things could go wrong in ways you didn't anticipate.
Yeah, like that old saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Right. And that's especially true with AI. I mean, it's still such a new field, and we're just beginning to understand its capabilities and its limitations. The Tribune article we were looking at actually highlights some potential risks, like, data privacy violations.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
And also the possibility of AI systems, perpetuating existing societal biases.
Which is, I mean, that's a huge concern, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you think about the scale of the AI systems that Stargate is trying to create.
Right. And without those safeguards in place, some experts are worried that, we're basically rushing headfirst into a future where AI could be used in ways that are harmful or even dangerous. It's like we're playing with fire and we don't have a fire extinguisher.
So what can be done to like mitigate those risks? Are there any like alternative safeguards being considered?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's a complex issue and there's no easy answer. Some experts argue that like industry self-regulation is enough. They point to the ethical guidelines that a lot of tech companies are already adopting.
But isn't that kind of like the fox guarding the hen house? I mean, especially when you're dealing with something as powerful as AI.
That's a valid point, and that's why a lot of people are calling for more robust regulatory frameworks to be put in place, even without Biden's executive order. I mean, something's got to give.
So what would those regulations even look like? Like, what specific aspects of AI development need to be addressed?
Well, one key area is data privacy. I mean, Stargate's going to involve collecting and analyzing massive amounts of data. And that raises a lot of concerns about how that data is going to be acquired and stored and used. Like, who has access to it? How is it being protected?
So regulations around like data security and transparency and user consent are crucial.
Absolutely. We need clear guidelines to make sure that people's privacy is protected and that this data isn't being used in ways that are harmful or discriminatory.
And what about the concerns around AI systems reflecting or amplifying existing societal biases?
That's another huge issue. If the data that's used to train these AI systems contains biases, those biases are going to be reflected in the decisions and outputs of those systems.
Right. So it's not just about regulating the data itself. It's also about making sure that the AI systems themselves are designed and developed in a way that minimizes bias.
Exactly. We need to think about things like algorithmic transparency, accountability, and having mechanisms in place to identify and correct bias. It's not easy, but it's absolutely essential.
Yeah, it sounds like a tall order, but the stakes are high, right? I mean, we're talking about shaping the future of AI, and that future needs to be one that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. It's not just about the ethical implications either. There are also economic concerns to consider. Some experts are worried that the rapid advancement of AI, driven in part by projects like Stargate, could lead to significant job displacement.
Yeah, that's something we've already seen happening in some industries, like automation replacing human workers. But could Stargate accelerate that trend?
It's definitely a valid concern. If AI systems become capable of performing tasks that are currently done by humans, it could lead to widespread unemployment, particularly in sectors that are heavily reliant on manual or repetitive labor.
So what can be done to address that? Is it a matter of like retraining workers for new types of jobs?
Well, that's part of the solution for sure. We need to invest in education and training programs that equip people with the skills they need to thrive in an AI-driven economy. We can't just leave people behind.
So like skills like data analysis, programming, even AI ethics.
Exactly. And we also need to think about like social safety nets and support systems for those who are displaced by automation. We need to make sure that people aren't left out in the cold.
Right. It's about creating a future where everyone has the opportunity to benefit from AI, not just those who are developing it or profiting from it.
Precisely. The goal shouldn't be to replace humans with machines, but to find ways for humans and machines to work together in a way that enhances our capabilities and creates a more prosperous and equitable society.
So we've talked about ethical concerns, data privacy, and the potential impact on employment. Are there any other considerations we should be thinking about when it comes to a project as ambitious as Stargate? I mean, this thing is huge.
Yeah, one that's often overlooked is the impact on global power dynamics. I mean, the race for AI dominance is really heating up right now, with the US and China as the main contenders.
And Stargate is clearly a move by the U.S. to, solidify its position in that race. It's like a power play.
Exactly. But it's not just about national pride or economic advantage. It's also about making sure that AI development is guided by democratic values and principles.
So the values that are embedded in these AI systems are going to have a huge impact on how those systems are used and on the kind of world we create. It's a big responsibility.
Precisely. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations now, to think critically about the implications of AI and to work towards a future where AI is used for good, not for harm. I mean, we've all seen those sci-fi movies where the robots take over.
Right. We don't want that to happen in real life.
No, we definitely don't. It's a complex and multifaceted issue, but it's one that we can't afford to ignore. The future is at stake here.
The future of AI is being shaped right now. And it's up to all of us to engage in this conversation and to help steer it in the right direction. We can't just sit back and watch this happen.
Speaking of shaping the future, Stargate isn't the only major player in the AI landscape right now. We've seen other significant investments in AI infrastructure from both governments and private companies.
Oh, yeah, like Microsoft's $80 billion plan
Right.
and Amazon AWS's $11 billion investment in data centers in Georgia.
Right. Those are huge projects, too.
So how does Stargate compare to those other initiatives? Is it simply a matter of size, or are there like fundamental differences in their approach?
That's a great question, and it's one that experts are still debating. On the surface, Stargate appears to be significantly larger in terms of its financial commitment. But the key difference might be the level of government involvement.
Right. Stargate is a joint venture, but it's heavily driven by the Trump administration, whereas the Microsoft and Amazon projects are primarily private sector initiatives.
Exactly. And that difference in approach could have significant implications for how these projects unfold and the kind of impact they have on the world.
So is more government involvement a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to AI development? I mean, it's a tricky question.
It is a tricky question, and there are strong arguments on both sides. Some people argue that government involvement is necessary to provide the funding and resources that are needed for large-scale AI research and development. The private sector just doesn't have those kinds of resources.
Right. It's expensive to do this kind of research.
And they also point to the need for government regulation to ensure that AI is developed safely and ethically. Someone needs to be looking out for the public interest.
But other people argue that too much government involvement could stifle innovation and lead to a more centralized and potentially less democratic approach to AI. Those worry about government overreach and censorship.
Exactly. And there are also concerns about the potential for government-led AI development to be used for, surveillance or other purposes that could infringe on individual liberties. I mean, that's a real concern in this day and age.
So it seems like finding the right balance between government involvement and private sector innovation is crucial. It's not an easy task.
Not at all. And it's a debate that's likely to continue. As AI becomes increasingly integrated into our lives and our societies, this is just the beginning.
It's a debate that goes beyond just the technical aspects of AI. It touches on some fundamental questions about the role of government, the nature of innovation, and the kind of future we want to create. It's a big deal.
You've hit the nail on the head. The conversation about AI is ultimately a conversation about our values, our priorities, and the kind of world we want to live in. It's about who we are as a society.
And that's something we need to be talking about.
Absolutely. And Stargate, with its ambitious goals and its potential consequences, is a perfect example of why this conversation is so urgent. We need to be having this conversation now.
It's a reminder that we're not just talking about algorithms and data centers. We're talking about shaping the future of humanity.
That's a great way to put it.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
So as we're wrapping up our exploration of this whole Stargate project, it's pretty clear that this is like way more than just a tech story. It's a story about, ambition, innovation, and like the choices we face as we step into this new technological era. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's been really fascinating to kind of unpack all the different layers of this project, from the, technical stuff like data centers and algorithms to the, broader economic and ethical and even geopolitical stuff. It's a lot to take in.
I mean, we've seen how Stargate is sparking this whole debate about, what is the government's role in AI development? What about jobs? Will it create jobs or will it kill jobs? And then, of course, the whole issue of safeguards to make sure AI is developed responsibly. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the whole Musk-Altman drama. I mean, that just adds another layer of intrigue to the whole story.
It really does. It's almost like we're watching a sci-fi thriller unfold in real time.
Yeah, there's definitely that element to it. And like you said, there's a lot of suspense. We don't know how this is going to end. Will Stargate really be this, catalyst for American innovation and, make us all super prosperous?
Yeah.
Or will it be like a cautionary tale about, what happens when we just let technology run wild?
I mean, those are the big questions, and we don't have the answers yet. It all depends on the choices that are made in the next few years, both by the folks behind Stargate and by, society as a whole.
Right. And that's why it's so important for us to be talking about this stuff, asking the tough questions, demanding transparency, and making sure that ethical considerations are front and center in all of this.
Yeah. AI is not some futuristic concept anymore. It's here, it's happening now, and it's having a real impact on our lives.
Yeah.
Whether we realize it or not.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. From the algorithms that, curate our social media feeds to, AI-powered tools being used in healthcare and finance. AI is already woven into the fabric of our lives. It's everywhere.
And Stargate, if it works out the way they say it will, it could supercharge all of that, bring AI into even more aspects of our lives, which, that's exciting, but it's also kind of scary.
It is, which is why we need to be thinking critically about all of this, anticipate the challenges, and, work towards solutions that make sure AI is used in a way that actually benefits humanity.
Right. I mean, we've talked about the risks, like data privacy violations, algorithmic bias, job displacement. But are there upsides to this, things we should be excited about?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, AI has the potential to revolutionize so many aspects of our lives. I mean, it could improve healthcare outcomes, help us address climate change, even create new forms of art and entertainment. The possibilities are kind of endless.
It's like with any powerful tool.
Right.
It can be used for good or for bad. It all depends on us.
Exactly. And that's why these conversations are so important. We need to educate ourselves about AI, both the good and the bad, and be active participants in shaping the future of this technology. It's not something that's just going to happen to us. We have a say in this.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are like the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
I think the main thing is that the future of AI is not set in stone. It's being shaped right now. And it's up to all of us to be a part of that, to make sure that AI is used for good.
We need to be informed, we need to be critical, and we need to be proactive. The future is in our hands.
Well said. The future of AI is not something that happens to us. It's something we create together.
And on that note, that's a wrap for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the Stargate AI project. We hope this sparked your curiosity and, inspired you to learn more about AI, and you know how it's impacting all of our lives.
Thanks for having me. It's been a great conversation.
And to all our listeners out there, stay curious, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.